It's an on and off rainy day, and I want to show you guys some of the Japanese maple trees as we're currently here in late spring. And if I grab this branch here, this is where the old growth was, right? And you can see all the new growth since spring. And if you can tell, the new growth is a little over 12 inches, which can kind of give you an estimate to how fast this thing grows. This is a Katsura Japanese maple tree. It's been in ground for 3 years now. And this starting flush is only the first flush out. We will get another flush around late summer, if not midsummer. If you've been watching my videos, you'll probably had seen that this Japanese maple tree first started off kind of an orangey red, then it went to a yellow, and now it's kind of a rich green. So you get this for your summer color, and I think it's pretty relaxing to see. Walking over to this Grapeleaf Japanese maple tree, it put on probably a little bit more growth than the actual Katsura. The new growth starts from this point here, and it comes all the way out to here. And this is about 2 foot of growth on this tree here. But not every branch put on 2 foot of growth. Like this branch here put on about 1.5 foot of growth within the spring season so far. And this is the first flush. And if you're wondering what I'm feeding these trees, we haven't really fed these Japanese maple trees any actual fertilizer this year, but we have given them pond water, which I kind of think it's fish fertilizer, at least in a sense. And then you can see that the ground is heavily mulched with wood chips. And if you're interested in this type of Japanese maple tree, this is the grapevine leaf maple tree. It's kind of a smaller variety and has a larger leaf to it. You can see hand comparison there. Now this is one of my favorite smaller variety Japanese maple trees. This is Beni-tsukasa. And Beni-tsukasa, it doesn't really put on as much growth as some of the other trees. You can see this is about 9 inches of new growth. That's at least so far for springtime before the second flush. This tree does stay a little bit more compact. I will prune it, and then we'll get that second flush and we'll see where we're at. And as we kind of pan around this tree, you can see that the more in shade it is, the greener the leaves. And then we have some really nice branching structure that I spent some good time pruning into over the years. But on the outer section of this Beni-tsukasa, you can see a bit more of this pink new growth. It will go gradually to green, and eventually this will be kind of a mid green color during the summertime. Not the darkest, but not the lightest either. And at the very tips, you'll see pink new growth as new leaves emerge. And here's the caliber on the trunk here. I can't really fit my hand around it, but it's gotten pretty gosh darn thick over the years. It's been 4 years in ground. We are going on 5, which is pretty cool. Then off on this side, we do have a Coto-no-ito Japanese maple tree. And Coto-no-ito really has this dissected leaf that's kind of string-like, at least if I could describe it. And we're still putting off some of the lovely pinkish growth as we get the new leaves, but eventually it's going to be around this green color during the summertime. And I want to say this one was in ground for either 3 to 4 years. The caliber is not as thick as the first one. Actually, now that I think about it, it's probably been 3, because this one was in ground after the Beni-tsukasa. And the tree isn't all that showy. And so far this season, it has put on just about 11 inches of growth from the new growth, which is actually kind of back there. So about 11 inches of growth. We kind of backtracked now. We're at the first flame Japanese maple tree. I saw this branch which has new growth on it. Reminds me of springtime. I love it so much. In fact, this is the color this tree is when we first leaf out in springtime. It's so amazing. It's this orangey red color, kind of fiery red. It looks like we got about 12 inches of growth here as well, so that's nothing new. And it's honestly average for my trees to get, I want to say 12 inches of growth within the springtime, and then I want to say another 8 inches of growth during the summer. And this first flame is no different, although I think it puts on a little bit more growth than the others, as it's been in ground for 4 years and currently sits a good 15 foot tall. Whereas trees like my summer gold won't really put on all that much growth. In fact, I think it's probably a good 5 inches, if honestly not less. Let's pull up the ruler. I was spot on. It's about 5 inches of growth. That's crazy. So you can really tell the difference between 5 inches of growth and 12 inches of growth. Something that gets only 5 inches more each year, if not 10 inches each year, is going to be a lot smaller than something like the first flame that gets about maybe 15 inches during a growing season. One of my favorite things about this summer gold is the seed pods. Look how red they are, and then they compare well to the yellow growth of this Japanese maple tree. Here's another tree I took really pride into, and it's this Tobi-sho Japanese maple tree. I spent a lot of days pruning on this Japanese maple tree, also trying to lean down certain branches with weights in order to get a specific structural look to it. And it's kind of got like these windows. I'm gonna have to do a bit of pruning again to clear up my window spaces, which we might do in another video. But you can see just what I mean here. And I really consider the Tobi-sho the bonsai of Japanese maple trees for the garden, as I mean, it's not the smallest of the growers, but it grows at a kind of a medium rate, but stays a little bit more on the compact side, as it's been in ground for 4 years and only sits maybe 6 foot tall, if not 7. And I think it focuses its growth more on sideways growing or width rather than the height. It did put on a good 10 inches of new growth this spring. Not quite 12, but we're getting there. As you can see, some new leaves coming up. And it's got this really nice rich green color to it. I want to back up so I can show you guys the underneath of it as well. It's got a good amount of mulch there to help keep the roots cool. Now, this is my Seryu Japanese maple tree, and it's currently being weighed down by the rain. As it is raining, it lost a good maybe quarter foot, if not half a foot, as the rain is pulling it down a bit. And the new growth on this thing usually goes crazy. I'm not sure how much it grew so far. It looks like only 10 inches, but usually we'll get a good 15 inches in the springtime, and then another 12 inches possibly, if not maybe half of that in the summertime. This tree is putting on kind of a chartreuse green color to it before it goes to more of an emerald green in the summertime. You can see the caliber on the tree. It's not that much, and it's also wrapped. But this tree did start out as a bonsai 4 years ago, and it's currently humongous, like humongous. One of my favorite trees is this Fire Glow Japanese maple tree. It's putting on a lot of new growth, but it's not the fastest of grower either. Like, it's almost 2 foot of growth, guys, 2 foot. So here's where the new growth started, and it came all the way down to here, which is a crazy amount for this Fire Glow. I think now that it's been in ground for 3 years, it's really starting to push that growth. And again, we haven't really fertilized. And that's not just a one-off branch. Here's a second new branch. You can see it's grown quite some amount as well. That's about 1.5 feet there. That's crazy. But I want to say that this tree focuses most of its growth on sideways branching rather than upright branching. So we'll probably get a lot of growth when it comes to width, but not when it comes to height. Same situation here on this Oshio Beni. The new growth actually started right around here and it came all the way down to here. That's a good foot of growth, if not 1.5 feet. I stand corrected. It's almost 2 feet, but yeah, we're just about 1.5 feet out. That's crazy. And again, this is one that focuses its growth on sideways branching rather than upward growth. So it's not really growing that tall, but it's growing pretty wide. Then we solely have about 10 inches of growth on this Sango-kaku when it comes to new growth. But in some areas, it's actually a good 11 inches, if not almost 12 inches. So not too bad for the Sango-kaku, but you can tell it's not a fast grower. And I really wanted to go back to this Oshio Beni and show you guys the leaf on this one. It's got a odd shaped leaf to it, and it's kind of greener on the base or the underside and then red on the top, which when you're looking underneath it gives it kind of a reddish tint, if not orangey color vibe to it. It really depends on the year. Sometimes it's more orange, sometimes it's more scarlet. As for the Sango-kaku, you get like this light chartreuse green growth for the new growth, and then kind of just a lovely green or light green, not too dark of a green for the summer growth. And you'll be able to see the coral color of the branching throughout the entire year. And one tip that I've learned from an actual grower is that you don't want to over fertilize your Sango-kaku, otherwise you'll lose that vibrant pink coral color for the branching. So that's something to take into consideration if you have a Sango-kaku. This is a autumn maple with about 12 inches of growth. Again, one that doesn't get too tall but stays a little bit more on the wide side and grows quite slowly when it comes to top growth. It's one of my favorites too. Autumn Moon really shows off these lovely colors of red, at least on the top, and then you can see in the base it's a little bit more chartreuse green, you know, when it's a little bit more shaded. But the top growth, or the new growth, look at that. That's so brilliant. Another amazing new growth is this a little over a foot, maybe 2 foot, pretty much almost 2 foot. It's just about there. This is the Orange Dream. Clearly it puts on a ton of growth during the springtime. It's still growing, and it's kind of like this chartreuse yellow color, especially if you give it the great area for it to be placed in. This one does not like to be in too much sun. It actually wants or prefers some afternoon shade. As you can see, some of the leaves did fry, at least in areas where it's not getting as much shade as it would prefer. And this is on the, what side is this of the house? Oh, this is on the east side of the house. So there's that. Here's another Japanese maple tree, similar to the Grapeleaf Japanese maple tree. This is the Rising Sun, and Rising Sun looks to be a little over 12 inches. It's got kind of a feathery leaf to it, and it's super dark, rich green, and the leaves can get the size of your hand, if not larger. Like, look at that. That's humongous. So if you're into larger leaf Japanese maple trees, look at the Rising Sun. It's an interesting one. And I don't really want to measure this one because it doesn't really put on all that much growth. It looks only like it's a good 5 to 6 inches of new growth. This is the Nagara Nishiki. It's a variegated variety. So you can see bits of yellow splashing. There's nothing wrong with this tree. And you'll probably see tinges of pink towards the edges. it's another that would prefer afternoon sun, as even on the east side of the building, it's a little bit too much sun. And then we have this, I want to say all gold, or no, Shidiva gold Japanese maple tree. Yes, definitely Shidiva gold. And Shidiva gold, it's another smaller grower. It's only put on a good 9 inches of growth, so not all that much so far. It's got kind of a lovely green color to it, and this is more of the green that it will be during the summertime, where you can see the lighter growth is the new growth. So that's pretty cool. And I'm not sure what's going on with this cloud maple, but it's almost put on a good almost 2 foot of growth just this growing season. Usually it doesn't get this much growth. Something's going on that's pretty crazy here. You can see the pink new growth, then the splashes of white. It's supposed to be the cloud maple or the floating cloud maple. But if it's in more sun, you'll get more dashes of pink rather than the all white that I kind of want to grow this for. And again, this is a smaller grower, so it's not going to put on too much growth, but you can see this year at least it's putting on a ton, and we haven't fertilized it again. Just remember that we're not fertilizing. And I want to say this one's sitting a little over 6 foot. I am a step down from it, so if I step up, we'll be a little further up than where this is at. So this is a smaller grower. This is Fairy Lights. It doesn't put on too much growth when it comes to height, but it will put on some growth at least when it comes to width. This is supposed to be around 2 foot tall and 2 foot wide within 10 years. Although this year it has decided, now that it's been ground for just about 4 years, to grow quite some amount. It's put on almost 2 foot of growth just this season. And that's only in width, not in height, so there's that for you. I will prune this back quite some amount just to keep that compact size. And one that I thought to be kind of a slower grower, this one has put on a little over a foot of growth for the season so far. This is the Emperor 1. It gets lovely, striking, rich blood red colors for the new growth, and then they become darker red for the summer months. But on the undersides, you get that blood red color revealed once again, with the leaves being kind of a medium size, but not too large. And again, guys, I think it's only because these have been in ground for so long, and that's why they're putting on so much new growth. But this one's put on almost 2 foot of growth for it. This is the Isama Sanago so far. So the new growth started from here and came all the way down here. It's about 1 foot and 3/4, so that's almost 2 foot. And the leaves are a lovely sized. They used to be smaller when it was a smaller tree, but now they're really starting to put on some size for the leaves now that this tree has gotten a little larger. By the way, in this area, we were creating a project. We're still working on it. It's just been a lot of rain recently, but look at the new growth here on this Isama Sanago. It's so red, and then like underneath too, you can kind of see that it's a little bit reddish orange. I love it. Another smaller grower, the Aoshimi no Uchi, which I want to say currently is possibly 3 foot tall. I am standing downhill of it, but this thing right here, it barely puts on any growth. I think we only got maybe less than 1 inch of growth so far. So that'll tell you something. It's not really the fastest. And honestly, I don't think it's going to do anything much this year. So we'll see, but I doubt it. It hasn't really for the past 2 years. Alright, then we have the Osakazuki, which the Osakazuki definitely has about 12 inches of growth on it. The new growth comes out kind of on the pinker side and then gradually goes to an olive green because it's the Akame Osakazuki. And this year, just like many of the other trees, the leaves just so happen to be a lot larger than they have in the past years. Although this tree in specific doesn't grow all that quickly. It's only sitting a good, what looks like 5 foot tall. I am standing down beneath it, so looks about 5 foot. Or actually, it's probably 4 foot now that I'm looking at it from above. Then we have our Taylor's Japanese maple tree, which is holding to its pink really well, but the more sun it gets, the more green it becomes. So if you give it like dappled lighting, if not some really good part shade, this tree will pretty much perform in that pink category. Now, as some of you guys know, this is the new one here in the garden. I'm trying to figure out where the growth point was, which looks like the newest growth came from here this year. And it looks like it's going to be one of those trees that put on a good 12 inches of growth, at least once it's happy. But oh my, the leaves on this Gable Glory is just stunning. Like, that is such a rich color. You don't see this often, and it goes really well with the summer gold. If you can see the summer gold peeking through, the two colors really clash. I think they mesh well together. Well, the rain finally subsided, and I'm going to hit the store, but I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a mini Japanese garden tour-ish, or at least update. It wasn't everything, but there was a lot of trees. See you guys next time. Peace!